खुदा में रज़वी हो।
मेरे अमाल का बदला तो जहन्नम ही था, मेरे अमाल का बदला तो जहन्नम ही था। मैं तो जाता मुझे सरकार ने जाने न दिया। औसुल वक्त हुज़ूर सैयदी व सनदी सरकार मुफ्ती आज़म हिंद रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हु is that beloved of Almighty Allah, whose every moment was spent absorbed in the love of Allah and His beloved Habib sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the kalam that was recited just now by Burhan Bhai, the one share of that kalam is Mere a'mal ka badla to jahannam hi tha. मैं तो जाता मुझे सरकार ने जाने न दिया. The recompense of my actions, the recompense of my actions was only hellfire. मेरे अमाल का बदला तो जहन्नम ही था. The recompense of my actions was only hellfire. मैं तो जाता मुझे सरकार ने जाने न दिया. I would have surely gone, but my beloved master did not let me go. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Subhanallah, subhanallah. The eve of Barat, Shab-e Baraat, is drawing very near, which is the eve of the 15th of Shaban. It is that Mubarak and that blessed night when Allah's mercy manifests above the sky of the earth, or upon the sky of the earth. And Allah's mercy calls out to us, is there somebody that seeks forgiveness? Is there somebody that wishes for this and this? Is there somebody that wishes for cure from their ailments? Is there somebody who wishes for risk in abundance? It is that eve that is coming to us, which is the eve of Bara'at, which means the eve of deliverance, the eve of redemption, the eve of freedom. Freedom from what? From what? Bara'at min an-nar. Freedom from the fire of hell. We can talk about it more on that eve, but I should rather remind you about it before that. And I believe Maulana Ahmad Sabir reminded you last week also that it is the eve that is coming to us, which is the means of redemption and freedom and safety and protection from the fire of hell. It is a night that will come to you wherein the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, fidaka abi wa ummi, may our parents be sacrificed at his noble feet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that on that night Allah forgives more people than the amount of the hair on the goats of the Bani Kalb. The Bani Kalb was a community, a tribe that had vast amounts of goats, not equivalent to the hairs on one goat. Which one of us can count the hair on the back of one goat? One goat. Here Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam more says that more than the hairs on the backs of all the goats of Bani Kalb, more than that, Allah forgives on this night of Shab-e Barat. The riwayats say that it is on this night of Barat that our old books will close, the registers of our deeds. New registers will open for the year. It will be given in the books of the angels on this night that is coming, that who will live this year and who will die before the next Shab-e Barat. It is written how much of risk you will receive from your sustenance in this year. So on that night, what should you be doing? What should I be doing? Where should we be? House of Allah. And this story that we are sitting and watching, Islamic channel making big night, is utter nonsense, it is delusional. That is not called ibadat. Ibadat is when you are in the house of Allah. Ibadat when you are in the remembrance of Allah. You think you are going to get and call ibadat when you are sitting and eating pakoras, bhajjas and looking at television. You're going to call that ibadat? Hazrat Ibrahim Adham radiallahu anhu, a very great Sufi and a mystic of his zamana's example, is unique for you to understand. And he was in ibadat. He was a king, he became a king, and the waqia is very long. If you read and understand the history of the king of Balakh, it's very detailed, hours to explain. But brief, I want to explain to you that he became a king after a very difficult life as being a faqir on the street. He was married to the king, to the daughter of a king, to a princess. And after the king, he became a king. And one day, he was sitting in his palace. He was sitting in his palace on his royal bed. And he was making dhikrullah. What he was doing? He was making dhikr on his soft royal bed in his palace. He was making the dhikr of Allah. And he wasn't doing anything wrong. He was making the dhikr of Allah. And while making the dhikr of Allah on the roof of the palace, he heard some sounds. He heard some noise. So he called out to the royal guards and he said, "Who is on my roof? How did they get access to the roof of the palace?" So the royal guards went in search of what was happening, and they found a man walking on the roof. On the roof of a palace. How did he even get there? He was on the roof of a palace, past all the security of the Badshah of the time. He was on the palace roof. They got him down and they brought him to the great King Ibrahim Adham at that time. And they brought him down and they said, "This man was on your roof of the palace." He said, "We'll deal with him later. How did he get there? You tell me. You are responsible for the guarding of this place." They said, "We don't know. We don't even know how he got there." You know why? Because he wasn't an ordinary man. So Ibrahim Adham asked him, "What were you doing on the roof of my palace?" He said, "I was looking for my camel."
Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah.
What did he say?
Subhanallah, looking for my camel.
"I was looking for my camel." Ibrahim Adham smiled at him. And he said, "You ever found a camel on the roof of a palace?"
Allah.
Who looks for a camel on the roof of a palace? He said, "Who sits on a soft bed and looks for his Rabb?" Who sits on a soft bed and looks for his Rabb? And today you want to sit in, this is not a comparison, this is for understanding. And today you want to sit on the big night in front of the television set and say we make ibadat. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Make wudu. Put ithr. Sit on the musalla. It is a night of deliverance. It is a night to seek forgiveness. It is a night to ask Allah to forgive your sins because you do not know, and I do not know what is written for us already. It's not that it will be written on that night. Your taqdeer was written when you were already in the womb of your mother. What is going to happen was already written, but on that night for that year it is passed down into the books of the angels. And they are made aware that this year this will happen to this person. That's such an important night, the night of Bara'at. This is the night that is going to come to us. When the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to the cemetery, to the holy Baqi, that Qabristan that is so Mubarak, that there is no cemetery like that in the world. Actually, it is Baqi, it is Jannah. It is Jannatul Baqi. Jannatul Baqi Sharif. Because it is in Medina Sharif, in front of the sacred Nazar Sharif of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the people of Baqi will be fortunate to rise when the Nabi rises from his Qabr al-Anwar with Abu Bakr Siddiq and Umar Farooq radiallahu anhu. Okay? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam on that night went to the sacred Baqi Sharif and picked up his hands and made dua for the Muslims. So what should we do? Instead of sleeping the entire night, instead of sitting in front of that box, instead of being on social media, instead of being on all these platforms which the Yahud have created to destroy us. On one side, we say I stand with Palestine. On the other side, we are supporting everything else that they do. Think about it for a moment. Every time you think of supporting the Yahud, think of what is about to happen in Rafah. Think about the more than 13,000 children that are massacred in Palestine. Think about the thousands of women that have been killed mercilessly. ये सोचना पड़ेगा ना, when this night comes, not only on that night but specifically on that night, उनको भी याद किया करो. Think about them. Our beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam foretold what was going to happen. Go and look into the history of Islam. We read novels today, we give our children novels and all these other rubbish to read. Sorry for my language. But how many of us give an Islamic book in the hand of our child? How many of us strive to even put the Quran in the hands of our children today? And then we want to know why our community is disintegrating. Think about it. I was in Zimbabwe last week for the weekend for some programs. And I discussed the detailed history of Palestine, because time permitted me to do that there. And let me tell you, if you go back to the year 8 Hijri, if you go back to the year 8 Hijri, in the Zaman of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you look at what happened in the Battle of Mu'tah, you will understand all that is happening in Palestine today. This is not a 75-year-old war. I said there and I'm repeating here today. Because I talked about Rafah, so I'm telling you. This is not a 75-year-old war. This is something from the early days of Islam. There were expeditions sent there to win that holy land by Hazrat Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, by Hazrat Sayyidina Umar al-Faruq radiallahu anhu. And Mawla Ali himself said at that time, when Umar al-Faruq was going to ask that where should I send the army of Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah radiallahu anhu? Should I send them first to fight in Baytul Maqdis, or should I send them to Caesarea? Hazrat Umar al-Faruq radiallahu anhu was sent a letter by Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah radiallahu anhu. He was in Madinatul Munawwara, and when the letter reached him, he called all the Sahaba and he made them sit. And he said, where should I send the army of Abu Ubaidah now? From Damascus, because they had fought and won the battles in Damascus. Where should they go? Look at the Futuhat al-Sham, it will tell you. See what Imam al-Waqidi writes. He said, go there and you will see. What should we do? Where should I send them? They have been there for a month. The Sahaba Ikram were having a discussion. Mawla Ali radiallahu anhu stood up. He said, send Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah to Palestine, to Baytul Maqdis. Send them to this place, send them to Baytul Maqdis. Abu Bakr Sayyidina Umar al-Faruq said, why? He said, I heard Allah's Nabi say that Baytul Maqdis will be conquered. Baytul Maqdis will be conquered by the Muslim army first, and then Caesarea will be sent. So what the Nabi said, it will be conquered. It will always be when Allah wills in the hand of the Muslims. And our Nabi sees that which nobody could see. That is why in history, if you go back to the Battle of Mu'tah, you will see that when the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent out an army of 3,000 men that stood against 100,000 at that time, under authority of Hazrat Sayyidina Zayd ibn Harisa radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when they went at that time, as they were leaving and they were going for this battle, the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to the Sahaba, when you go on this battle, if Zayd ibn Harisa becomes shaheed, if Hazrat Sayyidina Zayd ibn Haritha radiallahu anhu becomes shaheed, then you should make Ja'far bin Abi Talib the flag bearer, who the elder brother of Mawla Ali radiallahu anhu. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if he becomes shaheed, then make Abdullah ibn Rawaha, who was the Naqha of the court of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Hassan ibn Sabit, make him the leader of the Muslims. And the Nabi said, if he gets shaheed also, then whomsoever the people chooses. And when they did go, I'm trying to make a point here about how far my Nabi sees. There's nothing hidden from him. When they went to this battle, They are fighting there at the place of Mota. And the beloved Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is sitting in Masjid al-Nabawi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with the Sahaba Ikram. And his Mubarak eyes are tearing. And he's saying that Zayd ibn Harisa took the flag. And then he says he has been made shaheed. Huzur is not presently there physical, but in reality, Huzur is Hazir and Nazir. Even there, he's in Medina, but he's seeing what is happening. And then the beloved Nabi said that Jafar ibn Abi Talib has taken the flag of Islam. And then after some time, he lowers his Mubarak head and the tears flow from his eyes. And he says, Jafar has also been made shaheed. And then he says, Abdullah ibn Rawaha has taken the flag. And he quite remains silent for a while, and then tears drop from his eyes. And he says, Abdullah ibn Rawaha has also been made shaheed. And then the beloved Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, now a sword from amongst the swords of Allah. Now a sword from amongst the swords of Allah has taken the flag, and on his hand Allah will give victory. And on his hand Allah will give victory. And who was that? Hazrat Sayyidina Khalid ibn Walid. It was that day that he became known as Saifullah, because the Nabi said a sword from amongst the swords of Allah. But a point I want to make, that this was the vision of the Nabi. This was the power of the sight of our Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That he is sitting in Medina and he is saying, Medina Munawwara, and he is saying, certain Sahabi has taken the sword, he has been made, flag has been made shaheed. Certain Sahabi has taken the flag, he has been made shaheed. Certain Sahabi has taken the flag, he has been made shaheed. But I'm telling you, that is one mu'ajiza of his nazar. It was even before that. That is why when they were going, he said, if Zayd ibn Haris gets shaheed, Jafar ibn Abi Talib must take the flag. If Jafar gets shaheed, Abdullah ibn Rawaha must take the flag. Meaning before they went in the battle, Rasulullah already knew who's going to go, who's going to make shaheed, and what is going to happen in that battle. That is why Hudur and Mufti Afthab Radiallahu says in that couplet, that mere amal ka badla to jahannam hi tha, main to jata mujhe sarkar ne jaane na diya. Our deeds would have taken us to hell. He's talking about himself, the great wali of that time. He said, but my Aka Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not let me go. He protected me. What are we learning from this? We are learning when these blessed nights come, you remember the sacrifices of those who made such great sacrifices for Islam. But you also remember that don't regard your deeds as your only means. Your greatest means, your greatest wasila is Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Because your deeds, you have no guarantee. You do them hopeful of Allah's mercy, but you have no guarantee that they are accepted. But one thing you know for sure, that there is nobody more accepted in Allah's court than Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So when this night comes, it's a night of tawbah. It is a night of repentance, it is a night of dua, it is a night of remembering your parents who left this dunya. It is a night of remembering your deceased, but you do all of it, putting yourself at the feet of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and you will see the barakat here, and you will see the barakat in the hereafter. May Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala bless us with strength in iman. May He keep us firm in madhab muhaddab, mazhab al-sunnat, maslak ala Hazrat. All those who are ill in our community, Allah grant them shifa kamila.